Good morning. Today we will discuss regarding continuous versus discrete control. So first of all, we will see what is variables and parameters in a two industries. So we know the variables as outputs of the process and the parameters as inputs to the process. The variables and parameters characterize the respective production operations. The variable or parameters are of two types, continuous and discrete. A continuous variable or parameter is one that is uninterrupted as time proceeds. A continuous variable is generally considered to be analog, which means it can take on any value within a certain range. So production operations in both the process industries and discrete parts manufacturing are characterized by continuous variables. Examples are force, temperature, flow rate, pressure and velocity. These are the examples of continuous parameters or variables. All of these variables are continuous over time during the process, and they can take on any of an infinite number of possible values within a certain practical range. Now we will see what is discrete variable or parameter. A discrete variable or parameter is one that can take only or that can take on only certain values within a given range. The most common type of discrete variable is binary, meaning meaning it can take on either of two possible values, on or off, then open or close, and so on. It also includes limit switch, that is open or close, then motor, that is on or off, and work part in a fixture, means it is that work part it is present or not present in a fixture. Other possibilities are variables that can take on more than two possible values but less than an infinite number, that is discrete, other than binary. So examples are daily piece count in a production operations and display of digital tachometer. Another special form of discrete variable or parameter is pulse data, which consists of a train of pulses. For example, parts passing on a conveyor activate a photocell to produce a pulse for each part detected. Now, we will see what is discrete and continuous data. So discrete data can only take on certain individual values. Examples of discrete data: number of pages in a book is a discrete variable, then shoe size, then number of people in a race is a discrete variable. So it is a discrete variable means it can take on only certain values within a given range. That is called the discrete data. Then continuous data can take on any value in a certain range. So examples of continuous data: length of a film, it is a continuous variable, then temperature is a continuous variable, and time taken to run a race is a continuous variable. So continuous variable means it is considered to be analog, which means it can take on any value within a certain range. That is called the continuous data. So in a process industries, it involves control of continuous variable and parameters, and continuous control, it means involves variable and parameters are continuous and analog. And in discrete manufacturing industries, control of discrete variable and parameters, and it involves variable and parameters that are discrete, mostly binary. Now we will see the difference between continuous and discrete control by comparing some factors in process industries and the discrete manufacturing industries. So the first factor, that is typical measures of product output. So in case of continuous control, it involves the weight measures, liquid volume measures, solid volume measures. But in a discrete control, it involves the number of parts and number of products. So this is regarding the typical measures of the product output. So product output that can be measured in a two different ways, in continuous control and the discrete control. In a continuous control, it involves the weight, liquid and solid measures, and in discrete control, number of parts, number of products. Then second factor, that is typical quality measures. So quality that can be measured in continuous control, it is in terms of consistency, concentration, absence of contaminants, then conformance to specification, and it can be measures, quality measures, it can be measured in terms of dimensions, surface finish, appearance, absence of defects, product reliability in discrete control. Then third factor, that is typical variables and parameters used in a continuous control, that are temperature, volume flow rate and pressure. And in case of discrete control, these typical variables and parameters are position, velocity, acceleration, force. Then next, that is typical sensors used in a continuous control, that are flow meters, thermocouples, pressure sensors. And in case of discrete control, these typical sensors are limit switches, photoelectric sensors, strain gauge, photoelectric sensors. Then another factor, that is typical actuators that are used in a continuous control, are valves, heaters and pumps. And in case of discrete control, are switches, motors and pistons. And the last factor, that is typical process time constants. So in a continuous control, so process time that can be measured in seconds, minutes and hours. And in discrete control, it is process time, it is less than a second. Then types of control. So just as there are two basic types of variables and parameters in processes, there are also two corresponding types of control. So first is continuous control, that involves variables and parameters, continuous and analog. And second type of control is discrete control, and involving the variables and parameters are discrete, mostly binary discrete. So first we will see what is continuous control. So in continuous control, the usual objective is to maintain the value of an output variable at a desired level, similar to the operation of feedback control system. So it involves the feedback control system to get a desired output. So most continuous processes consist of many separate feedback loops, all of which have to be controlled and coordinated to maintain the output variable at the desired value. For example, control of the output of a chemical reaction that depends on temperature, pressure, input flow rates of several reactants. So all of these variables or parameters are continuous. Another example, control of the position of a cutting tool relative to work part in a CNC machine tool. So all of these variables and parameters are continuous. So there are several ways to achieve the control objective in a continuous process control system. So types of continuous process control. So first is regulatory control, second is feed forward control, third is steady state optimization, fourth is adaptive control, fifth it is online search strategies, and last one, that is other specialized technique using expert systems and neural networks. So first type of control system, continuous control system, is regulatory control. So objective of regulatory control is to maintain process performance at a certain level or within a given tolerance band of the level. So it is appropriate when performance relates to the quality measure. So performance measure is sometimes computed based on several output variables. So performance measure is called the index of performance, that is IP. So you can see the diagram of regulatory control. You can see there are input parameters and output variables. Then there is a performance measure and it is feedback to the controller. So feedback of measured variables and performance measure that are given to the controller. If there is a deviation in performance or output, then controller makes adjustments in input parameters to get the desired output. So that is called a regulatory control. So here regulatory control to the overall process is a feedback control in the process. But the trouble with regulatory control is that compensating action is taken only after a disturbance has affected the process output. Then second is feed forward control. So objective of feed forward control is to anticipate the effect of disturbances that will upset the process by sensing and compensating for them before they affect the process. So the disadvantage or the trouble with regulatory control is that compensating action is taken only after the disturbance has affected the process output. So in a feed forward control, it will anticipate the effect of disturbances that will upset the process by sensing and compensating for them before they affect the process. So mathematical model captures the effect of the disturbance on the process. Then complete compensation for the disturbance is difficult due to variations, imperfections in the mathematical model and imperfections in the control actions. So usually it is combined with regulatory control. So regulatory control and feed forward control are more closely associated with process industries. So you can see in a diagram. So how combined action it is taken. So you can see in a diagram there is a input parameters, then output variables, then measured variables and the index of performance. That's it is feedback to the controller, feedback of measure variables and index of performance that is given to the controller, and it will make the necessary corrections in a inputs or make the adjustments to input parameters to get the desired output. That is in case of the regulatory control. But in this feed forward control, so disturbances that are also feed forward to the controller. You can see the loop on a left hand side for the disturbances. So that disturbances that are taken into account and it is given to the controller, and according to that the controller makes the necessary adjustments to the input parameters to get the desired output. So feed forward control elements sense the presence of disturbances and take corrective action by adjusting the process parameter that compensates for any effect. So feed forward control is usually combined with feedback control. So regulatory and feed forward control are more closely associated with the process industries than with discrete product manufacturing. Then third type of continuous control is steady state optimization. So it is a class of optimization technique in which the process exhibits the following characteristics. First is well-defined index of performance, that is IP. Then second, known relationship between process variables and IP. And third, that is system parameters values that optimize IP can be determined mathematically. So it is an open loop system. So optimization techniques include different calculus, mathematical programming, etc. So you can see the diagram. You can see the one number, it is given to the index of performance, and you can also see it is an open loop system. So number one, it is the index of performance IP. Number two, it is a mathematical model of process and IP. And number three, that is algorithm to determine optimum input parameter values. And these all that is given to the controller, and controller makes the necessary adjustments to input parameters. So 1, 2, 3 that is mentioned in a diagram characterize, apply. The control algorithm is designed to make adjustment in design parameters to drive the process towards optimal state. So the control system, it is a open loop system. Then next control, it is adaptive control. So because steady state optimization is open loop, it cannot compensate for disturbances, because disturbances, it is a closed loop system, and steady state optimization, it is a open loop system. So it steady state optimization system, it cannot compensate for disturbances. So adaptive control is self-correcting form of optimal control that includes feedback control. So it involves measuring the relevant process variables during operation, that is feedback control. And second, it uses a control algorithm that attempts to optimize some index of performance, that is optimal control. So adaptive control operates in a time varying environment. So the environment changes over time and the changes have a potential effect on system performance. So example of that is supersonic aircraft operates differently in subsonic flight than in supersonic flight. If the control algorithm is fixed, the system may perform quite differently in one environment than in another. In adaptive control system, it is designed to compensate for its changing environment by altering some aspects of its control algorithm to achieve optimal performance. So there are three functions in adaptive control. So first is identification function, second is decision function, and third is modification function. So you can see in a diagram. So there are three functions of adaptive control system. So first it is identification, second it is a decision, and third the modifications that is done to the input parameters. So that three elements that are involved or that will make the adaptive control. So in identification function, the current value of IP, that is index of performance, is determined based on measurements of process variables. Then second, that is decision function. It decides what changes should be made to improve system performance, like change one or more input parameters and alter some internal function of the controller. And third element of adaptive control is the modification function. So it implements the decision function, that it concerned with physical changes, that is hardware rather than software. So you can see all the elements of adaptive control, three elements, that is identification, then decision, and then modification. So that measure feedback from the measured variables or index of performance, it is identified, then there is a decision making, and then there is a modifications that are made to the input parameters to get the desired output. That is called a adaptive control system. Then online search strategies. So special class of adaptive control in which the decision function cannot be sufficiently defined. So it is a relationship between input parameters and index of performance is not known or not known well enough to implement the previous form of adaptive control. So instead of experiments are performed on the process and small systematic changes are made in input parameters to observe effects. And based on observed effects, larger changes are made to drive the system towards optimal performance. Then second control, that is discrete control systems. So in the first part we have seen the continuous control system, and in a continuous control system we have seen the different types of continuous control system. Now the second part of the control system is discrete control system. So in discrete control, the parameters and variables of the system are changed at discrete moments in time. The changes involving variables and parameters that are also discrete, typically binary, that is on or off. The changes are defined in advance by means of a program of instructions. The changes are executed either because the state of the system has changed or because a certain amount of time has elapsed. So there are two cases can be distinguished as: first is the state of the system has changed, that is called event driven changes, and second, a certain amount of time has elapsed, that is called time driven changes. So we can see again, the changes are executed either because the state of the system has changed or because a certain amount of time has elapsed. So according to that, there are two categories. First is the event driven changes. That is the state of the system has changed, and second is time driven changes, that is a certain amount of time has elapsed. So first is event driven changes. An event driven change is executed by the controller in response to change of the state of the system. The change can be initiate an operation or terminate an operation, start of a motor or stop it, open a valve or close it. For examples, a robot loads a work part into the fixture and the part is sensed by limit switch in the fixture. Then second is The diminishing level of plastic in a hopper of an injection molding machine triggers a low level switch which opens a valve to start the flow of more plastic into the hopper. And third example is counting parts moving along a conveyor past an optical sensor. So these are the examples of event driven system. So event driven system means it is a state of the system. The state of the system has changed. Then time driven change. So time driven change is executed by the control system either at a specific point in time or after a certain time lapse has occurred. So the change usually consists of starting something or stopping something, and the time when the change occurs is important. For example, the factory shop clock sounds a bell at a specific times to indicate start of shift, break start, break, then start and stop times and end of shift. So these are the examples of time driven events. Then another example, that is heat treating operations must be carried out for a certain length of time. And third is, in a washing machine, the agitation cycle is set to operate for a certain length of time. So this is the example of, these are the examples of time driven events. So two types of discrete control. First is combinational logic control. So it controls the execution of event driven changes. So also known as logic control. The output at any moment depends on the values of the input. Then second is sequential control. So it controls the execution of time driven changes. So uses internal timing devices to determine when to initiate changes in output variables. So this is regarding the continuous control versus discrete control. Thank you.